As promised to all those folks on Twitter and social media, we have to talk about the pound this morning. A little bit of strength. It's given some of it back. But what can we expect out of pound sterling given the vote later on today?
Well, the one thing we can be certain of, Dob, is volatility, because I think the vote is going to be very close. There's a lot of different potential scenarios. The easiest one would, and the most obvious one would be if Parliament or the House of Commons completely rejects the withdrawal agreement, pushing the UK to a vote on a no deal on Wednesday, followed by the possibility of an extension on Thursday. What's interesting about the pound is that the currency is exceptionally strong, in my opinion, considering the risks. And I think that this reflects the optimism in the markets. There's a very good possibility also that perhaps the vote will fail with very thin margin. And if it fails with a thin margin, Prime Minister May look at this as a mandate to basically go for another vote. And I think, all of that really kind of prolongs the uncertainty for the British pound. But I think it's very clear that the scenario is either they accept the withdrawal agreement, which I think is very, basically next to nothing in terms of the odds. They basically vote against it with a thin margin where, maybe we could see a little bit of a relief rally as they hope that at the final vote, perhaps the final vote after the EU summit, they could finally accept it, or they reject it, and then we finally ask for an extension of Article 50, which is what we really need, because a 2-year extension, I think in the market's eyes, is better than being plunged into an uncertain void. So that's basically the scenarios.
All right, so Kathy, let's bring the euro into this discussion as well, because that's a key part of this whole Brexit negotiation. So as we talk about the euro and its relationship with the pound, euro sterling is certainly a focus of these Brexit negotiations for traders. What can we expect out of that big cross?
Well, euro today is stronger than the pound. It's, the move is more consistent. The rally is more extended. But I think for the most part, it's really going to be a story of how the market perceives the next steps for the UK are. Ultimately, I think that in terms of euro pounds, the currency really should be trading lower, because I think, a 2-year extension versus an uncertain void really gives us no winners. But, the market is looking at the currency, and they're seeing that Eurozone is weak. Perhaps we can get an extension, and that they have short-term optimism. And so euro pounds, is still could come under a bit of pressure. But I think ultimately, though, I can't see a good path out of this. And I really think that euro is going to outperform the pound, even though the fundamentals are just as terrible.